Millennial reshuffle. Or should we really call it the reclamation? And what we're finding is that people are reclaiming themselves. And what about this millennial generation where it's 50% of the workers out there in corporations and it's the highest of entrepreneurs? So, Roxana and I are going to dive into this so meaty and juicy topic today of the millennial reshuffle or reclamation. And how are you ready as a business? So, are you ready to get started? And we are starting now. All right. So, woo, it is our first time that we are at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we switched to an evening. So those of you that might be joining us right now live on any of our platforms on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, hello, welcome. And today's topic is about the millennial reshuffle, but we realize that there's a little bit more to that, right?
For sure, there is more to that. And I'm wondering, for those of you who are catching us live, let us know what resonates most with you, either the reshuffle or the reclamation or both. I mean, why exclude things? It doesn't have to be one or the other, because
Well,
we definitely love this topic anyway.
so let me read. I posted something on LinkedIn. Those of you that might have you've read that, but let's revisit. So I came across an article from Marissa Badgley, and I loved what she wrote in her article about this great reclamation. And she talked about human beings deliberately choosing themselves, working to reclaim their time, their energy, identities, autonomy, and passions. And we're seeing people reimagine work life integration and prioritize physical and mental health over money and the grind. And I thought this was good timing for us because I came across this article after I posted this event, and you and I came up with our topics about this millennial reshuffle. I almost was going to play the Super Bowl Chicago Cubs of the Super Bowl shuffle, right? But anyways, and I realized this actually makes more sense to us,
Yeah,
right?
it does.
In this subject. And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there's a lot of re I mean, honestly, I haven't heard so many. It's
Resignation, reshuffle.
resignation, reshuffle, um, redesign, rethink, which is a word we both love as well. There are a lot of changes that are happening, and by now I think we're used to all of these changes. But I what we're not used to yet is the power and the influence that individuals have in actually changing what happens to us as a collective. And it's not just top down anymore, it's also bottom up. And it's not just that, it's not on the vertical just, it's also all on the horizontal. And it's also related to how we work together as a network and how connected we
Mhm.
are to each other. And I think that is why we're seeing a lot of and great, by the way, the great resignation, and they're all great. But what and how are we gonna make the best out of everything that's going on? Because I think that's the thing. And we're talking about a lot of pain points that we're seeing happening as we speak through this reshuffle, great reshuffle, resignation, and reclamation. What do you do with it? And what do you need to look at? And how are you gathering data, if you're gathering data at all? Because sometimes this simply doesn't happen. There are companies who just step into putting in place the process, maybe tweak it a little bit, but it's the old process from a year and a half ago, and they expect that to work.
Yeah. It's so I guess I'm trying to find the words in this is many
Another re.
people I know it's like many people are rethinking.
Yeah.
Well, it's really a lot of us have been talking about this even before the pandemic when it comes to human and bring work. And I feel that it was more foo-foo and feely stuff. And I'm gonna just say the term, oh, those hippies over there, right? Like that connection and love and what might happen, you know. But they were my point.
Yep.
And I don't think they're getting ignored anymore. I'm gonna say I'm one of them. I've joined the club. You've joined the club. You probably already, right? And where we're noticing a lot of people that we started to see and they got a taste, right? It's when you are able to experience something, being able that your time is important to you, it starts to make you really see what you value most. And then when we go back to work and we're starting to work and they're trying to change our environment, and you really enjoyed staying home with Fido or with the babies, or you loved being able to cook your own meals, right? Your meal
Yeah.
prep. You didn't have to worrying about all this food and all that. And you can just go downstairs in your kitchen, right? A lot of us don't even eat healthy when we're at work, and we only eat healthy when we get home because it's such a challenge. You got all these things about our everyday life, or
Yeah.
just working remote. I can go see my mother and I don't have to get time off, right? So there's all these
Exactly.
concepts that now
It's
we're going, wait a minute. So you're taking
Wait a
away
minute.
these things?
Exactly. Wait a minute. Why exactly do I need to do this? And just want to say hi to Christina. Hi, Christina.
Hi.
Yeah, she loves this topic. And I think a lot of people do. So that's great. But I think I would be interested to find out Christina's from her experience. What do you think about the great reshuffle, and actually the reclamation that we're talking about, and how people started to reclaim their power? And what do you see from your perspective? How is that happening in your world? Because I think this is one of those questions that we would need to ask more of. Because what I'm seeing a lot, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of companies who are doing the things right in planning and strategizing and thinking forward, but a lot of companies that are not asking anyone exactly the great reclamation of life and work. How much do you know about it? How much do you know about what your people want, and how your people are most productive and most effective? Because they manage to set those ways of working in place, and that's been going on just fine for your people, for your clients, for your business.
Yeah.
And now you're asking them to get back and not really knowing how. But what I'm seeing a lot is exactly this kind of ask that comes from the top down without really having the data to make an informed decision based on that. Like, ask your people, see what their results have been, ask your clients, see how many clients you're going to have in person or online, get the data, and then decide to put in place a process that actually serves people instead of being ineffective, because it doesn't serve anybody. So it definitely affects your business.
So it's like, what do you mean? So we're supposed to incorporate design thinking and customer centricity about the subject?
Ooh, that would, what an idea, Veronica.
So let's get real and talk about we have a couple of shows that it's going to be fun with our guest, that's a millennial that's going to come on and talk. But when we originally were posting this about the Millennial Reshuffle, we started to realize throughout the couple of days, even before we became live, was this great reclamation that's really happening. And there are a lot of, blaming millennials and Gen Zs that are pushing this edge, but is it really? Or maybe they're just a lot more braver about what they want, and they're just really reevaluating their value, right?
Yeah.
And so it's when we talk about millennials, they're the highest percentage of entrepreneurs. I know that you have children that are Gen Zs. I talk to my niece all the time, and she's like, I will never work in corporate world. It just won't fit me. They just won't give me
Yeah.
what I need. I like choice. And then you wonder with a lot of companies out there that are not necessarily open, they only want employees. For me, I'm an independent, and there are groups of people that won't even work with me. And you kind of wonder that if you are an independent and you like that lifestyle, you have set it up, it gives you that sense of freedom. You're right. You don't
Mm-hmm.
mind going into an organization and helping contribute. You have good work ethic. You're passionate about what you do, and you have a lot to contribute, but they don't necessarily want to work with you because they have these ideas that you have to be a certain way. And you wonder, not only is it about remote and hybrid working and all of that, but just even your policies are the type of people that you employ,
Exactly.
right?
And the kind of environment that you create for them. And I'm so happy that Christina has just put here exactly that's what I want to say. Yeah. And exactly what I think we've talked about that so much, how people want to be self-employed and they want to have their own schedule. And this is what's been going on for a lot of employees out there as well, not just for the entrepreneurs. And yes, more people are becoming entrepreneurs, or if not, and guess what? If not full time, at least they have something on the
Oh, they're
side
doing a
as
side
well.
hustle.
Exactly.
It,
Like this is what we're seeing more and more of.
and there are probably two aspects that are happening out there, that they have this hope becomes a full time, so they're balancing it right now, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe they have the full time job and they're saving their money, because
Yeah.
we are seeing that with this great reshuffle and great resignation articles that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or they're already jumping in. They're already jumping in, and they're
Or
still entrepreneurs, right?
they're already jumping in, and I think there's a lot of, and if you look at the stats, that's to me this is mind blowing that employers don't think about it. And to Christina's point, because she says I would have loved to see the choice given to employees to be asked how they perform best, and that some
Oh.
at the same time there needs to be trust in place between the employer and the employee. Well, isn't that so? And doesn't that affect your business? Doesn't that affect how your employees are working in your company and what results they give for your clients? And doesn't that affect your budget and your profit and everything? And I think a lot of these people who become self-employed, who create their own businesses, they had this entrepreneurial mindset while they were working for companies, and
Yeah,
the companies
and
just didn't tap
a
into
business,
that talent.
a business hat too. And so I go into a lot of
Yes.
organizations where you can tell the difference between the business savvy and the people that are just wanting to work. And
Yeah.
today in organizations, if we're really trying to connect and be customer centric and really connect strategy to execution, what I talk about, you're really connecting everyone, understanding about what's important as a business and
Mhm.
understand what's important about the customers, right? It's that cycle where the customers are driving to help you meet those business goals.
Exactly.
Even an entrepreneur knows that, right? Your only existence as well as your customers are coming to you.
Yeah.
And so that realization is there innately. Even an independent worker that is getting placed and they're not doing their biz
Mhm.
dev still appreciate the value of that because they're selling them in their own personal brand, and they understand they are only getting jobs by their reputation.
Yeah.
And so there's this cycle of really understanding and appreciation. But here's the thing. What if? that they don't go, or we bring more of them in, and we're able to perpetuate that organically in that thinking, and mixing that type of thinking together instead of having just one type, right? And this is where I always challenge organizations that are only hiring certain groups of people, right? Employees only, or they're only going through these big consulting firms for their contracts, and they're not really hiring direct independents in a way, right?
Yeah.
Because they are employees of the consulting company, is my point. They're really truly not independent, is what I'm getting
Mhm.
at.
Mhm.
They're an employee of somebody. But let's talk about when we think about the people, and let's go into what type of management style that they look for. I know you have some thoughts on this.
Ah, um, I think from what I've seen, and I talk to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of, especially mid managers right now, and also small business CEOs who happen to be millennials as well. But what I see is a lot of collaborative management style that really everybody appreciates. Employees, managers as well. There's a lot of pressure on those mid managers right now in big organizations. And there's a lot of pressure also for small business CEOs when it comes to choosing who you want to be on the team, when it comes to motivating and engaging your team, especially right now, and when it comes to looking at what challenges you need to face, what outcomes you're after, and what you can do and how you can tap into everybody's potential. I think this is what we're seeing, the real management style that's not just focused. When we say people focused, let's make things clear. When you're people focused, you get crucial data that you can actually use to make a strategy and a plan for to make the business work. Because otherwise, if you don't know who can do what, it's as if you didn't know who can do what and what experience they have and what knowledge they bring, but you're still asking them to do things. You wouldn't do that. That's what we mean by being people focused. We mean you're not supposed to be lonely and isolated at the top as a leader. The most powerful and the most influencing and respected and trusted leaders right now are the ones who get into that team leadership power
And they
and
get
ask.
curious.
Yeah.
They actually
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
know. And when we talk about feedback loops, they want to know
There you go.
what is happening down there. And what we talk about getting to the Gemba, they're really rolling up their sleeves and really understanding their people. And they will go in spaces where it the person's not a foreign person walking down the halls, or even you know how they do these town halls and it ends up being like you're watching television, oh, like us right now. And but the engagement, it just feels so distant. It's like,
Yeah.
oh.
You can't lead the same way. You
But
simply can't. I mean, yeah, you can try. You can absolutely, but it's not going to give you the same results. That's what I
they
mean.
have to step in some very strange, like go into a meeting that no one would expect you to go in.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, what's up? When that like freaks you out, right? Even if they even said, hey, what's up? but but seriously, it's
Yeah.
really about when we talk about those that are wanting the changes, they want to feel like a person.
Yeah.
They don't
Exactly.
want to feel that a CEO is somebody that walks on water. It's untouchable.
And and you know what? I was hoping, and that's why
Or
I'm
like
a
an
little
image
bit
outlet, because I've never met him, or
right.
like talk to the person.
But I think what's happened a lot during the lockdown and everything, it was we shared so much of just our personal spaces. I mean, look, we're sharing our personal space with everybody watching, right? This is what's been going on for the past 1 year and a half. And now, I mean, you have to keep that in place and you have to understand there's a different kind of connection that you now have compared to what you used to have before. So enforcing the same rules that you had before, and going back to normal is only going to take you back and not help you move forward. That's the point.
Yeah, and if any of you are on LinkedIn that are watching right now, and I know that there's some folks on Facebook, Google Dan Price. And he's someone quite active on LinkedIn, and he is a CEO of a company. And that is what people, and there's others like him, that they're wanting to go work for. It's
Yeah.
someone that is like your next door buddy, or somebody that you can actually talk to, that really thinks of you, the choices they make, they really truly care about their people and the purpose that they have in what they do. I mean, what is his salary? Like $40,000, and he makes sure that everyone is paid fair, and then that's what he cares about. He cares about growing the business and everyone feeling like and being paid for that value. And so he never started the company trying to be this person that sits on this pedestal. And
Exactly.
so when we think about these management styles, they're really wanting to feel that they are being heard, they are being mentored, they are really taking the human element to it. So you really can have these conversations. It's not always just a professional one, but it's
Yeah.
also a human one.
And talk about that. And actually, I think it goes with our second caption for tonight, which is like what gets people motivated and engaged and keeping them to stay. And it's because you mentioned Dan Price, and there are so many super entrepreneurs and CEOs who tapped into the people power. And I
Yeah.
mean, you have Richard Branson. I mean, we can all agree that he built so many successful businesses by now. And he says, no, clients don't come first, people come first.
Yeah,
Because if
he's
your
all
people are
about
happy, your clients are happy.
and we talk about that, the relational versus transactional.
Yeah.
And when it comes about keeping motivated and engaged people to stay, it's not transactional, it's relational.
No. Yes.
Because at this point, it's really understanding what lights them up. I always say, right? You don't want to go to work dreading Monday and looking forward to Friday, right? You want to feel like it's Friday night every night. I used to always say that motto all the time. I think I need to, because you spend so many hours at work.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are realizing, they're like, if you're really going to get all of me, I want to feel like I'm valued. Everyone wants to
Yeah.
feel like they can make an impact, but they also want to feel valued about that impact they do. And you can get a high performer, which is it's going to be our thing that we're going to talk about next week, that you can fake it, because if you're an overachiever and you do really well, you're all about results. But are you truly motivated and engaged in a way that is lighting you up, or you're just really doing it because you're this overachiever and you do this for everything? That's just how you do things. And also
Exactly.
generational too. I'm starting
Yeah.
to see that there's a threshold to this point. And so when we talk about what keeps motivated, or keeps people to be motivated and engaged to stay, is that it's this threshold that they hit. Because the ones that get it and realize, if I'm that great, why do I need you when someone else is looking for someone like me? And that's where you have to be worried as a company, because it's not the people that are going to stay there forever, right? It's the ones in this workforce. And that's why they talk about the millennials. They talk about the new generation, Gen Z, that's coming in. Their threshold is a lot lower. So you and I are exennials, right? We grew up in an era in our lives where we don't, you kind of, most parents, like in this generation, we is that they didn't really leave a job. They didn't jump around. I think you and I are probably on that verge where we started kind of testing the waters. A lot of people I went to They didn't stay with what they did in their degree. They actually changed their career probably 2 years in. So I think we were already starting to be in that transition in the Zennial era, but the millennials just took it to a whole other level. They're like, "Pah, I'm not,
Well,
no,
yeah,
I'm not going to
because
stay."
it's the millennials who actually brought the conversation of work-life balance in the workplace. They brought the conversation of, I mean, at the board table, motivation and engagement and purpose. They were always there, but nobody was talking about them. No one was making the connection between that. I mean, there were people who were saying that, but was anyone listening? No, because we were used
No,
to
they
that
were
kind
called
of model.
highly sensitive. They're like, "Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, you're making my life up." And here's a quote from that article, which I thought was kind of funny. It said, "Many employers are struggling to find people to fill empty roles in every day. And I hear leaders gripe about lazy, entitled millennials and Gen Zers who are ruining things and should just pay their dues." And that was
yeah.
the quote.
Let's complain.
and and really and she goes on, Marissa, in this article, and this is what I love about this article. We should probably put this in, those of you that didn't see my LinkedIn post, and if you're on the other platforms. She says, yes, workers are quitting their jobs at unprecedented rates, but here's the thing we're seeing right now isn't a generation of workers who are resigned at all. People who are leaving their jobs aren't passively surrendering or checking out. I think people are missing the point, is what she's saying. People are actively shifting the narrative. This is what's happening right now about what is acceptable and what is not. That's the point.
Yeah,
You
that's the
finally, there are
reclamation.
people that are this. They're
Yeah,
rethinking and they're
yeah,
finally taking action.
yeah.
And that's the difference between our generation and theirs.
And I think also what I also see is that they have that kind of power of influencing, because these discussions happen no matter how much we think they don't think so. Because people talk about that, people talk about, they've had time to think about, to rethink and reevaluate and rethink about their values and their passions and their purpose and the motivation and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't care about that now, if you're not ready to listen, if you're not ready to ask questions and really listen, that is gonna bring, maybe unsurprisingly, not so good results for you as a business on a long run. Maybe on a short run that will be okay-ish, but I'm what I absolutely believe is, if your employees changed, high chances are your clients changed as well, and their behavioral patterns changed as well. So if you're not listening to your people, you're missing out on what your client's behavior is as well.
Yeah, and those of you that are in the millennial generation or even a Gen Zer, go in the comments. Let us know what you think about this topic. Because if you're an entrepreneur out there today, I would still love even to hear you as well, because you have thoughts of why you even chose down that route. We need to understand as a society, as even companies, why people are taking a different path today. And
A more risky, and because it's risky
yeah,
to be an entrepreneur, it's not easy, but people choose it. Like,
yeah, and so
why?
and going back to rethinking and taking action, I really think that every organization needs to do some discovery and some design thinking about this topic. Maybe you should talk to a lot of those entrepreneurs and find out why they went that route. What made it to where they wanted to go this. Now, if they had their own idea and they wanted to start, okay, but I don't think that's I don't think that's the only reason. It's,
No.
some of them talk about they wanted their own schedule, their own independence, and, and you hear these things about financial intelligence and everything. But you know what? You can have the financial intelligence or tax things, right? I'm an independent. Let's just be honest. I've learned the tax structure where, yeah, I'd rather not be employee because it benefits me not to be an employee, if you want the truth, if you learn how to do these things. if employer started to do design thinking and really understood the why, what is happening out there with the people that already left, yes, you're going to find out the people to keep them, but I think they also need to look at the other part of this and talk to the people that did leave. I think they're missing out, right? It's almost like anything
Yeah.
that if you're doing product management and you're wanting to understand the market, you got to look at different dimensions. You want to look at the people that are already there, and you want to look at the people that aren't there, is my point. And so
Yeah.
when we talk about rethinking and taking action, we want to look at both spectrum so we can understand our idea of the why, because the ones inside, you don't know that what are they doing right now? Are they going to move in that direction? So you can be more proactive, but you got to understand why those people left, and not the people that just left your company with those exit reviews. That's not what I'm talking about. Get curious out there with those large percentage of millions of people that are entrepreneurs today. There's a
Ask
reason
better
what made
questions.
them go that route.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah.
because that is I take it the extremity of what we're talking about. And then you get the people in the middle of the road that are looking for particular jobs that are probably the next best thing to that. Because in truth, it really is the next best thing. You have autonomy, you have choice, and you're doing innovative or really cool things that are lighting you up, right? What does that sound like? More
And what
entrepreneurial.
could that look like? But what could that look like if you have all of these people who are entrepreneurial, but not everybody who is entrepreneurial in spirit really feels like they're going to have their own thing, but they definitely can use that entrepreneurial mindset and those skills inside the organization. Are you really allowing the space for them to do that so that everybody wins, rather than how many times have you felt like being the odd one out? I know I have.
And this is
Plenty of times.
And this is going to be, I'm going to channel my agileness here. It's going to be a iterative and incremental process, because
Yeah.
a lot of things are changing currently right now, and we can't say that we know everything. So we have to do some discovery. We have to hypotheses and validate those assumptions and take a lean startup approach to what's happening out there today and start testing some of these theories, because right now we are so VUCA in the sense of highly volatile, right? Very lots of
Yeah.
uncertainty in the world today. And so we have to experiment and test, but you have to stay curious and you have to experiment and you got to validate. So your point is, when it comes to people, when you say you're people centered, right? And ending this with rethink and taking action,
Yeah.
is make sure that you measure what matters and you look beyond the linear thinking about this, right? When I say which problem and rethink the problems that you're addressing, you might want to go outside your boundaries of, and maybe the people that are already out there that escape the corporate world, because a lot of, it's like window shopping right now. A
Yeah.
lot of people are looking outside and going, wow, I would, or what is it? Looking at the window, right? The nice thing in the window, and saying, God, I want that,
Yeah.
right?
And
And,
what if I miss out on that? What if I don't get it?
yeah, and if they
You know?
figure it out,
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things. Now, next week, what we have going on is
I love the drum roll. That was.
so next week we're going to have the big deception. And this is about, are your team members faking high performance? So we kind of mentioned it this week. We always see these
Yeah.
things. And
Let's see.
this is where we overrate about high performing. And I'm all about like high performance coaching, but you have to be smart about when it comes to, are you missing things in that, especially when you're not thinking about employee engagement and motivation with high performing. So we're going to
Yeah.
touch on that next week, and we move to a new time. So it's 6 p.m. now. Those
Does
of
it
you,
work better?
you know what? We got a little more Facebook people on there, so it
Yeah.
really works on that platform. But those of you that are watching us on LinkedIn, let us know if you like our new time slot. I know that when it comes to North America, we get to hit more of the West Coast folks. It's I know that our
Yeah.
12:15 slot was really in the morning. Most people were meetings. So hopefully maybe this works out a little bit better for those to join. So we'd love to get your feedback on that. Now, we have a library of shows. I think we might even missed our year anniversary, Roxana. I have a feeling we
Oh
did.
no.
Are you
No.
sure? We got to look at
Yeah.
our first video because it is coming up.
I'm not sure, but we
But
can't miss it.
so,
Let's just pretend it's gonna be
okay.
one of the next times.
So my point is on that is that we have probably close to a year's worth of
Yeah.
episodes. And so you can check us out on the Game Changing Work YouTube channel of all the episodes that we have there. So we are always streaming live there on YouTube. You can go ahead and subscribe. Don't forget to click that bell to get notified,
Yeah.
and you will know when we always
Oh,
have an event.
see, Christina on Facebook, she says this time works much better for me. So
Yay!
yeah,
Yay,
thank you,
Christina.
because it really, that's why we're doing this. So ideally, the more of you can join live, the better, because we can have a more a richer conversation as well. So if you missed the other stuff that we did live, go and subscribe onto the YouTube channel, because you might be getting some game-changing ideas about how you can really change the game at work.
Yeah, and we're all about influencing the modern workplace.
Yes.
And to us, it's probably a lot of those things that is always about bringing what we call human to work. We both believe that the benefits of life coaching and this entrepreneurial mindset and thinking and choice is all about influencing that modern workplace. So we definitely will be talking about all those juicy topics on the show. So new time slot, 6 p.m. on Tuesdays. Be there and definitely don't be square. All right. So we're going to end today. I know I'm
The
full of
show.
it.
It's a show, so it has to have the drum rolls and the rhymes and
I could
everything,
have said
right?
same bat time and same bat chat. I don't know if any of you guys remember that show. All right.
Uh,
I will
all right.
close this out. Are we officially closing? And we will see all of
Yes.
you next week with our topic that's going to be talking about. And it is, again, the big deception next week. Are your team members faking high performance? Oh, yeah. It's going to get interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next
Okay.
week, everyone. All right.
Bye.